In this video, we are going to talk about Toncoin, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of Ton to go in the coming days and weeks. So we will be looking at the weekly chart, and first of all, what we can see right here is that Ton is in a very clear downtrend since 2024. We've seen it just continuously get lower highs as well as lower lows. More recently, back in May, we've seen it get a very aggressive green candle. We've seen Ton rally over 100% in just a few days, and then pretty quickly in the weeks following that it has gotten a pretty significant dump. It is still quite a bit above where it was back in May and in previous months, but we have seen Ton follow Bitcoin's price movement quite well. We have seen Bitcoin, of course, get a rally since February. We've seen Bitcoin rally from 60k to over 80k, and then from there it got rejected and started dumping and went all the way back down to 60k. Ton is still above where it was back in February, so it has actually been outperforming Bitcoin in recent months. But in terms of the general direction of the price, Ton has been moving with a pretty strong correlation to Bitcoin, with it rallying and then starting to dump once Bitcoin started to dump. Currently, Ton is at $1.6. It is right above this area of support at $1.4, which has behaved as support back in 2025, as well as a resistance a couple of times in 2026. We have actually seen Ton go all the way down there in the last couple of weeks. It got a bit of support from there, and it is now a bit above it. Despite this recent significant rally by Ton, it is still pretty clearly in a downtrend. It has gotten rejected off of this area of resistance that we've seen it get support from earlier in 2025 at around $2.6. This seems to be a pretty strong area of support and resistance for Ton. The only exception to this downtrend really for Ton is back in the October liquidation event, when we've seen the entire crypto market very briefly absolutely crash, and we've seen Ton go all the way down to around 60 cents. But this has only been for literally a few minutes, and then it bounced all the way back up. Also guys, if you are enjoying these videos and you're getting any value from them and you want more updates about Ton as well as other altcoins and Bitcoin and the crypto market in general, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot and it allows me to continue making these videos. So if you don't mind, make sure to subscribe. And now let's get back into the video again. So other than this candle week, we've seen Ton be in a very consistent downtrend, and I think that it's quite likely that we will just continue to see Ton eventually break down below this recent low from earlier in 2026 and continue the downtrend. In the short term, I think that a bit of a recovery for Ton is actually quite likely. It could actually create a higher low right here. I don't think that it's impossible, since I am expecting Bitcoin to get a relief rally sometime pretty soon. We've seen Bitcoin head all the way back down to 60k, which is a crucial area of support for Bitcoin. We've seen it get a rally from the area of 60k back in February, as well as a few more times back in 2025, and we've also seen this area of 60 to 65k behave as significant support and resistance for Bitcoin historically, with about 64k also being the all-time high from back in 2021, where it got rejected off and started the bear market. So this area is actually very significant for Bitcoin, and I am expecting Bitcoin to get a relief rally sometime pretty soon to probably around 70 to 75k. Bitcoin also reached very oversold areas of RSI on the daily chart. Bitcoin's RSI went all the way down to 15 or so, which is also the same level of where it was back in February, where it got the relief rally from. But this time, but as I said, I am expecting this relief rally to only end up getting to about 70 to 75k and probably create a lower high for Bitcoin, since Bitcoin is still in a bear market. I won't get too in-depth about Bitcoin in this video, and I want to focus on Ton, but in general, I am expecting a bit of a relief rally for Bitcoin sometime in the coming weeks, and if that does happen, then it does make the chances for a rally by Ton a lot more likely. It's not guaranteed whatsoever with a lot of altcoins, especially if the Bitcoin rally is very brief and not significant. Then the rally by Ton could never happen, as well as with other altcoins, since Bitcoin usually leads the market and it could take a few more weeks for altcoins to rally as well. We've seen this actually happen in February. We've seen Bitcoin start to get a rally, but Ton took many more weeks for it to start rallying. It only started consolidating all the way up to early May, so it took a couple of months of Bitcoin rallying for Ton to follow it, and something similar could happen again. And this time, if the rally by Bitcoin is not as long-lived, then Ton could never even get a rally and only get a consolidation and then continue dumping from there. But regardless of whether Ton gets a consolidation or rallies, I do think that eventually Ton will continue to create new lower lows and head below this area of $1.1, this recent low from March, and essentially create new all-time lows. Again, except this all-time low from back in the October liquidation event. I think that it will probably take longer for Ton to reach that area, but even that I wouldn't write off, and I think that it will eventually actually reach that area of the all-time low from October as well. But that's probably more in the long term. It could take a while for Ton to get there. But again, I'm not seeing any positive signs for Ton really. Of course, my outlook could change with such a small market cap altcoin. Anything could happen really, and it is very volatile. I think that what would change my outlook is if Ton actually manages to cross this recent high at around $2.8 and closes a weekly candle above it. This could completely change my outlook on Ton and would be a strong signal of a trend reversal, but I think that the chances of that happening are very slim at the moment, and I think it's quite unlikely, and would expect Ton to just continue dumping further. Again, in the short term, a bit of a rally is possible if Bitcoin does get the rally that I am expecting, but in the long term, I think that Ton will eventually continue dumping. And also in general, I am quite pessimistic about altcoins as a whole. I think that since we are still most likely in a bear market, and I think that Bitcoin will eventually get below 60k and create new lows for this bear market, I think that altcoins will dump even further and underperform Bitcoin, which just tends to happen historically in bear markets. As Bitcoin dumps, altcoins tend to dump even further and underperform it, and altcoins do very poorly usually in bear markets. Of course, there can be some exceptions, but I don't really see a reason to why Ton would be one of those exceptions, and I am expecting it to continue dumping and do very poorly in the rest of 2026 and possibly even much beyond that. I think that the only chance for Ton to really get a sustained significant rally is in many months, and it would take for Bitcoin to start getting significant rallies again and for us to be in another bull market, which again could take many months, and I'm not expecting this to happen anytime soon really. In general with altcoins, what I would personally do, of course this isn't financial advice, but I would personally avoid being heavy into altcoins and only maybe choose a few altcoins to be in very selectively in the short term. I think that altcoins aren't really a long-term hold, and the only thing that I would really hold in the long term is Bitcoin, maybe a bit of Ethereum at most, but that's really it. So you guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about Ton as well as other altcoins, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.